Apelles Fenosa, a name that moves easily between the studio and the square, was born in Barcelona at the turn of the century and spent a lifetime making sculpture that feels both intimate and civic. He is the kind of artist whose work speaks in folds and silhouettes, whose figures can be small enough to hold and large enough to hold a city's memory. Born Apelles Fenosa and Florenza in 1899, he learned his craft in Barcelona, modeling, carving, learning how material answers the maker's hand. But it was Paris, in the 1920s, that shaped his public life. There he entered a poetic circle, Max Jacob, Jean Cocteau, writers and painters who read sculpture as verse. Even Picasso owned a Fenosa. The work had a quiet modernity that the Parisian avant-garde recognized immediately. Fenosa's sculpture is lyrical in the old sense. It marries gesture with metaphor. You will see drapery that turns into landscape, a shoulder that becomes an arc of sea. He reduces the human into an emblem, a face, a folded cloth, a metamorphosing limb, and in that reduction, he creates a universality. He was not abstract for abstraction's sake. His forms remained tethered to human feeling, to myth, to grief, to lullaby. That is why his small bronzes whisper and his public monuments command. Technique is never merely technical for Fenosa. It is the grammar of feeling. He began in clay and terracotta, hands in the mud, the quick translation from idea to mass. From those models came plaster maquettes, then molds, then bronze by the lost wax right, model, investment, melt, cast, chase, patina. He understood patina as voice, the green or brown that speaks of rain and salt and history. For monuments, he sometimes carved directly in stone or worked with metal, but always respected the logic of the material. The technique makes the meaning possible. Fenosa moved easily between the intimate and the monumental. He made maquettes for memorials, a study for oradour-sur-glane that holds the hush of loss, and he cast public figures that anchor plazas, the Pau Casals monument in Barcelona, the Polypheme that speaks of myth, the Sphinx that guards a court doorway in Paris. These works function as civic verbs, to remember, to honor, to hold. They are not heroic in the theatrical sense, they are civic in the old sense. Built to receive ritual, to be a place where people stop and then move on, carrying a memory with them. Fenosa's friendships with poets mattered. Max Jacob wrote for his catalogues. Jean Cocteau and others read his forms as lines of poetry. This literary bond is visible. Many pieces feel like stanzas, dense, compressed, then opening into metaphor. That is why some of his reliefs, Apelles Fenosa, died in Paris in 1988, but he left more than bronze and stone. He left a practice that teaches how sculpture can be both lyric and social, to talk softly and to be heard in the square. If you meet a Fenosa in a museum or on a boulevard, stand with it for a while. Let the folds and the patina read on your skin. His work rewards time, close attention, then distance, and the two together give you the artist's true measure. One of the clearest windows into Apelles Fenosa's life is his house studio in El Vendrell, a renovated 16th-century palace that he and his wife transformed into a working home in 1958. Today, the Museu Apelles Fenosa preserves not only his bronzes and plaster maquettes, but the rooms where he lived and worked, the studio, the tower, and a garden shaded by olive and lemon trees. Walking those galleries is less like visiting a museum than stepping into the artist's life. The Mediterranean light, the tools still echoing with use, and monumental bronzes standing quietly in the garden. The house is protected as a cultural treasure, and in its outdoor spaces, pieces such as Polypheme, the Sphinx, and Orlando Furioso remind us that Fenosa made sculpture to be lived with, public, weathered, and human.